Today, what we are working on is in here. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. You see these chop saws here. These are the chop saws I used when I was had my picture frame shop. And they have these fences and stops and clamp mechanism and all this kind of stuff. Right now it's being used as more of a shelf. What we need to focus on is actually the table upon which these are setting, which I sold. I had 2 sets of these fences and I sold them to another guy that's starting a frame shop here in town, and he wants me to build him a table. So basically that's what we're doing. We're going to measure these up. He's got the same saws I do, so we're going to measure and basically make this same table. We're going to make a few modifications though. You can see this one here. I've got an arm. It's just a piece of 2-inch tubing that I welded on here and ran it out to support the leg over here. We're going to make it, I think, where these telescope in and out or something. I'm not really sure. And he wants to be able to roll it around and lock it in place. So I haven't decided. He's talking about like some sort of a mechanism where the feet raise and lower. I'm thinking probably just locking casters, but I don't know. I've got some casters. We're going to make use of them. I do have some tubing already. I don't know how much materials I actually have to do the job, but at the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start cutting these tubes. So I'm going to go ahead and measure those and start cutting them. Okay, so I've cut the legs right here. These are the 4 legs, and now what we got to do is this is the first change that we're making between the 2 tables. This table here, you can see that I used under here for the top to hold the top down was just angle iron, and angle iron is great except for one problem. Here's an example. Right here, I just put a screw right through, self-tapping screw to hold the top down. What we're going to do is, this makes for something that you don't want to snag your body on, that'll tear a hole in you. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the tubing for the top. That way when we run a self-tapping screw to hold the top down, it just disappears and it's not a place to snag your finger on. But I made this. Yeah, I mean literally this was, it's one of those stories. I just built it and I didn't care because it was for me. But this is for somebody else, so we have to we have to care now. So let's measure that up and we'll cut all that. So let's see what that is. Okay, I wanted to discuss what I'm doing here. I went ahead and cut the bottom rails. This is for this is going to be for the bottom shelf. This is for the top shelf. And these are the legs, and I've clamped them. I'm using my welding table here as a square. This corner, I know it to be square. And I have clamped the 2 legs in place. You can see that. These the top and bottom rail, I actually cut all the rails just a little short so that there's a little bit of a gap so that we can actually fit them between here and get the right measurement. Now what we're going to do, we're just going to tack, I'm going to do this, we're going to tack this up, and then I'm going to do the other one that matches, that's the other side, and tack it up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the short rails little 12-inch rails. And then we'll weld these two sides together, and then that'll be our basic table frame. So let's tack this up. Okay, where are we at on this? This is the basic base right here. It's just tacked together at kind of random points, but that's decidedly the floor is less than level. The next aspect, I guess, to work on is on the original table. We've got these arms that come way out, and what they are is, on the original table, it's just this square tube. It's just 1/8-inch wall, 2x2 square tube, and it's just welded to the frame of the base right there. You can see it's nothing fancy by any stretch of the imagination. However, the big problem with this base is it's forever long. I mean, these are roughly, I don't know, 4 or 5 foot, and then the middle of it's another, what did I say, 50 inches, I think it is, and then it's another 4. So, when all is said and done, it's I think 13 feet, something like that. So it's kind of a pain to move around, especially if you got to load it in a truck or something like that. So what we're doing with this one is we're going to, I have a piece of this tubing out there. I think that's what it is. I'm going to dig it out and see if I've got enough of it. But what we're going to do is we're going to come up with some way of making it removable. And that may be a deal of just another larger piece of tubing, like a receiver, and then a bolt to clamp it where you need it, or I don't know exactly. But first things first is to go get that piece of tubing and cut it to length. So let's go scrounge that out of the pile. We're going to use as a receiver. This is 2.5-inch square tube. I think it's 3/16 wall. The tubing that we have, the 1/8-inch wall stuff, fits in it nicely, and that's what we're going to use. So, at this point, anyways, unless I come up with a better idea. Okay. What we've got going on here. This is my little piece that I'm cutting. I'm going to use as a receiver tube. I took the rest of the tubing and I run it across because we want these two pieces of tubing to be in line with one another. And we know that this piece here is relatively straight. I don't know that I can just weld it to the frame of the table and it be right. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be close, if for no other reason than to set my mind at ease. I have it leveled. This surface is in line and held in place by this magnet. That's all I need. I will got a little bit of an offset back here. This just gives me a place to weld. And what we'll do is once we get this set exactly where I want it, we'll just clamp this in place, and I'll run a bead, and we'll run a bead here, and I'll probably run another one on the inside across down there, and then we'll do the same for this one, and that should be nice and lined up so it'll hold the arms, the extension arms, and then what I've got is I have plans for how to keep them where I want them. So anyways, let's go ahead and weld that up. I think that's it for today. Let's take a look here. So we've gone into new territory. So we've got our 2-inch right here. Inserts into this 2.5 inch, and I have a plan for bolting that in so it'll be stable. It's mostly just a socket at this point, but so you know it's a little slack, but whatever. Once I want to build a screw or a bolt or something that'll hold it and hold it in place, but it goes out. And the nice thing is I'll either build it where these just slide out, or I may build it where they just slide in like that, and it just makes it a lot more compact and easier to move around. As you can see, it's pretty well lined up. So anyway, like I said, that's it for tonight. If you have any comments, put them in the comment deal, and I usually respond. I may not respond right away, but I do usually respond. And if it's a smart-ass comment, I may respond and I may not. So anyway, that's it. Good night.